Hello there, and welcome to Andre's Rare and Out of Print CD Collection, Volume 4. It's really long waited. I think actually it's almost been a year. Actually, maybe just a little under a year. But here I am. I have a whole bunch of new Rare and Out of Print CDs. Some of them I actually bought new. I should start off by saying that the reason that these CDs, even though they might not seem to be on the servers, are so valuable is because whether I found them in the record store or on Amazon.com, all you have to do is search the internet and Google any site, eBay, Amazon.com, or even MusicStacks.com if you've heard of that, and figure out that the original CDs of this, not reissues, are commanding pretty big bucks online these days, and they're out of print. So I'm going to start by presenting this one. This CD just recently went out of print. This is Out of Control by the Brothers Johnson. It's a 1984 album reissued by a label called Funky Town Grooves, who reissue albums like these. But they put them out of print fairly fast, so this particular album was really good to come by, and it has excellent audio quality as well. This album I found quite by accident. This is Living Eyes by the Bee Gees. It's after their disco period, but before they made a comeback in the late 80s. So you'll find that this album is kind of them transitioning in sound, and I found it actually at a local record store used, and I feel pretty good about the fact that I even found it. Now this is a real treat in my collection. This is Heatwave's Hot Property album. It's a reissue that I had to do some searching for on eBay pretty heavily, and it's actually pretty good sound quality. My old vinyl was really in very bad shape, so finding this album was absolutely stupendous to me because I've been looking for it forever. I didn't know it had been available on CD, and this is really, really, really hard to find, and only occasionally crops up on eBay, sometimes at a hefty price. This album I just actually got in the mail today. This is Ramsey Lewis and Nancy Wilson. Stanley Clarke produced this album. And despite what you might think, it's not really a collection of kind of jazzy standards or anything. It's actually a very electric 80s Ramsey Lewis album with Nancy Wilson singing on it, and I've been looking all over for this. And I look forward to listening to the whole thing and reviewing it on Amazon.com, which I usually do. This is another rarity. This is an original Japanese vinyl sized reissue of the Rufus album, Camouflage. It was their last album with Chaka Khan. Got a nice little picture of the group on the back. See? There's Chaka in the middle. And this particular album commands triple digits used on eBay. And I was lucky enough to find this under the $20 mark on Amazon.com last year in brand new condition. It doesn't have the Obi strip, but it is definitely really, really worthwhile to have this. And here's another Rufus album. This is actually a reissue from a Japanese soul reissue line, again minus the Obi strip. This really, really hard to find because these albums go out of print in a jiffy. You know, they come out and they don't last. And this one was one of the shorter lived. This is Rufus's first album without Chaka Khan. I had it on vinyl, but I'm really happy to have the CD of this one. This is something I actually found at the Goodwill. It cost me $2.99. Robert Palmer's album Clues. Now it hasn't always been rare, but this is an original CD reissue. You can see on the back in the writing that it is. And this particular album is from 1980, and it's really good, and it's getting pretty rare now, so I'm happy about that. This album, again, I found at my local record store. It's Donovan, yeah, the hurdy-gurdy man and Sunshine Superman Donovan. His 1977 album. This represented a reunion with Mickie Most. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm really happy that I found this reissue and kind of wondering what it's going to sound like. This is another recent addition to my collection, Philip Bailey's Inside Out album. It was produced in 1986 by Nile Rodgers, Chic fame, and it was a follow-up to his huge 84 album, Chinese Wall. And it's somewhat rare now, and I actually ordered this online from the same record store that I buy my records from here. They have an online service, so I'm glad they had this at a reasonable price, actually under the double digits, to be honest with you. This I actually found at that record store. This is Elton John's album, Leather Jackets. Now, I don't want to go into this, but if you read my Amazon.com review of this, you'll know that this album is really, really underrated. There's a lot of good songs on it, even though it wasn't a big hit. And you can see on the back, this is an original issue. Full digital recording. A DDD album. Some of them didn't sound so good, but that one did. This album, I scoffed and I scoffed over on CD and finally got it on vinyl. This is Ramsey Lewis's Fantasy album. A very electro breakdance kind of album he recorded in 1985. Don't you just love that cover art? Very Picasso. I love it. And I managed to get this album on Amazon.com really, really, really cheaply, and I'm glad I had it. This, The Four Tops and the Supremes, The Magnificent Seven. It's a great album. I found it almost bargain basement price at a store in the same store I found a lot of these other CDs in my neighborhood, and I didn't know how valuable this was, but all you have to do is check out Amazon.com and figure out how rare this original Motown CD is. But nothing compared to this one, the Supremes' first album. Yes, this is before Where Did Our Love Go? This is before they got hits, and I found this at the same price, and this is tremendously valuable. It's been reissued on CD since, but this original reissue, with that cover, it is absolutely amazing. I even found this at all at a price that I could reasonably afford. So this is Oingo Boingo. This is their album called For Your Soul. Another rather rare one from 1983, and actually one of their best. And Danny Elfman does some great songwriting and has some very clever lyrical ideas. It's a really good album, if you can find it as cheaply as I did. This one is a treasure. A lot of people either love or hate this album. This is Todd Rundgren's acapella. And it's an album that he recorded actually using nothing but his own body. His hand claps and whistles and all that. So that's why it's called acapella. And I actually found this at another record store not far from me, who sell so few records that a lot of what they have is actually out of print now. So I just snagged this up before the guy realized that I'd kind of robbed him blind on this one and what it's commanding now on Amazon.com. But that's part one of my new rare and used CD collection, and there's another one coming right up, so stay tuned.